My name is Django. No one will hurt you anymore as long as you're with me.
Terrified, the woman tried to run. "You won't get far on your own," Django told her calmly. "Come with me." She followed Django into a small town. When they entered the inn, their presence shocked everyone inside. Django swept the room with a sharp gaze and said, "Prepare a room for my woman." The innkeeper replied nervously, "You can have anything else, but she cannot stay here, and we have no vacant rooms." Without hesitation, Django paid a large sum of money to another woman and secured a room that way. Just then, a man wearing a red scarf walked into the inn. He was there to collect protection money. Django casually popped open a bottle, looked at him with disdain, and spat in his face. The man turned and walked away silently. Moments later, gunshots erupted outside. It was Major Jackson, amusing himself in the cruelest way, using living people as target practice. The sight was utterly heartless. One of his men rushed in to report that a mysterious stranger had arrived at the inn. Jackson and his men headed over. The women inside lit up at the sight of customers. Business had arrived. Major Jackson ordered his men to shut the doors and drive everyone else out. He stepped forward and stared at Django. "Did you kill 5 of my men?" he demanded. "Do you have any idea who I am?" With that, he raised his gun.
Anna? Dennis?
Supermarket.
Regulations are...
The man was standing in line waiting for an interview. Suddenly, a dog snatched his scarf and ran off. When he chased after it, he noticed a job posting on a door. Since he had already missed his original interview, he decided to walk inside instead. When he came back out, the dog was waiting for him, but the door behind him had mysteriously vanished. After returning home, the man told his roommate about the interview experience. At that moment, a strange email was slipped under the door. It turned out to be a job offer addressed to Jack. On his very first day at work, Jack realized there was something deeply unsettling about the company.
Last chance to change your mind.
Because of construction delays, the HR manager treated the renovation workers with extreme harshness. Yet when it came to a stapler on the floor, he acted overly cautious, as if afraid of getting hurt. Despite the heavy workload, he repeatedly emphasized that no one was allowed to stay after hours. All electronic devices were strictly forbidden. As for the actual nature of the work, he refused to explain anything at all. This left Jack and Lisa thoroughly confused. The next moment, Jack was stunned by what he saw. A small creature that looked almost like a tiny dragon flashed past. But when he blinked and looked again, it was nothing more than a mouse. Jack couldn't believe his own eyes. The secretary assigning tasks brushed it off casually.
Did you see a baby dragon?
What shocked Jack even more was that, under the boss's guidance, he was somehow able to sense the location of mineral veins through a map. Realizing he had an unusual ability, Jack was completely taken aback. The boss, however, was thrilled. It turned out Jack had been hired because he possessed a talent for divination. The boss wanted him to help locate a hidden object inside the company building. It was a portable door. Because the door could disguise itself, only someone with divination abilities could find it. The boss claimed this object was vital to the company's survival and demanded absolute secrecy. Jack agreed, hoping to prove his own worth. However, his actions soon attracted the suspicion of another manager. Jack did not reveal the secret of the portable door, but after the manager left, the very door he had just walked through suddenly disappeared.
What's wrong, Paul? Foot hurting? Why were you hired, Paul? Not sure you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Why did he hire you?
I can't say!
I can do worse, Paul. I can do a lot worse now that I'm in here.
But it's just a dream, right?
Oh, yes, it's just a dream. But things have real-world consequences, Paul. I could make you strip off. Go for a little sleepwalk outside.
You wouldn't.
I could make a little bit of wee come out.
The next day, Paul returned to the company, still carrying fragments of the dream he had the night before. He resumed the search for the portable door, but in reality, there were no obvious clues. Just as he was about to give up, he noticed something unusual on the floor, a line of nails arranged in a deliberate pattern. They seemed to point in a specific direction. Trusting his instincts, Paul followed the strange trail. It led him to the entrance of a basement. When the rolling shutter door lifted, rows of storage shelves came into view. As Paul began to look around, Mr. Tanner stormed in, furious.
Did I give you permission to be down here?
Let me think. Did I give you permission to be down here?
No, I did not.
Sorry, Mr. Tanner. I thought it might be a good place to look for the what? Portable door.
Without permission, Paul was not allowed to be there. He was immediately ordered to leave. The following day, as soon as Paul arrived at work, he unexpectedly ran into one of the executives who had appeared in his dream.
We met at your interview? Well, hope you're adjusting. Nice dash.
After thinking it through, Paul became convinced that the basement was connected to the portable door. He decided to try again. Standing beside one of the shelves, he slowly raised his hands, focusing on the subtle energy around him. Soon, his intuition whispered the answer. The shelf wasn't just a shelf. It was a hidden passage. Without hesitation, Paul stepped forward and walked straight through it. On the other side was an entirely different world. The space was filled with bizarre and astonishing objects. It resembled some kind of laboratory, yet far more mysterious and advanced than anything he had ever seen. Among all the strange devices, one peculiar clip caught his attention. As Paul reached out to touch it, the clip suddenly shifted and transformed into a person. A snake slithered toward the baby inside the house. The innocent infant reached out a hand when it saw the snake, while the snake coiled up and prepared to strike. At the critical moment, Roy pulled the revolver hanging on the wall behind him and fired a shot that startled everyone inside and outside the house. The farm woman rushed in and picked up the unharmed baby, while the grandmother picked up the snake that had been shot into 2 pieces. Seeing such skill from this mysterious man, Alice became even more curious about who he really was. A few nights earlier, the badly injured Roy had collapsed on his horse outside a farmhouse yard. The homeowner, Alice, stepped out with a gun and issued a warning.
Declare yourself or I'll shoot.
Roy barely lifted his head before being shot and falling to the ground. Fortunately, the bullet only grazed his throat and was not fatal. Alice stepped forward to examine his injuries carefully. After confirming he posed no threat, she had the stranger carried into the barn. The grandmother cleaned his wound with herbal medicine. Under careful care, Roy's condition gradually improved, though his body remained weak. The injury to his throat left him unable to speak, and Alice still did not know his name or identity. One night, when Alice went to the barn to check on Roy, she accidentally discovered a letter he carried with him. From the name on the envelope, Alice learned that his name was Roy, but his background remained a mystery. As Roy slowly recovered, he became interested in the horses in the yard and went alone into the stable to tame them. Watching the once restless horses become calm and orderly, Alice's family realized this man was no ordinary person. The boy Art was especially friendly toward Roy and invited him to share a meal with the family. At that moment, an unexpected visitor arrived outside the yard, and Alice immediately grabbed her gun and went out on guard. Her relationship with the townspeople was tense, and she rarely interacted with outsiders, so she was always on high alert. The visitor turned out to be a desperate mother, whose child was covered in red rashes and crying nonstop. With no doctor in town, she had no choice but to seek help outside the settlement. Seeing the crying baby and the helpless mother, the grandmother was moved, and Alice decided to help. The grandmother carried the baby into the house and turned to prepare herbal medicine. At that moment, a snake crawled toward the baby and Roy stepped in to resolve the danger. Without saying a word, Roy walked out of the house. As the injury to his throat continued to heal, he said that he would be leaving the next day. The girl suddenly realized her body had changed in a way she did not understand yet. By accident, it left a mark on her stepfather's hand. At first, she felt only embarrassment, but his reaction was strangely intense and deeply unsettling. Lily froze in shock. A wave of disgust and fear rushed over her. The moment the boat reached the shore, she ran away without looking back. From that day on, Lily became disturbingly aware of her stepfather. When Lily was 5 years old, her father died in a car accident. Her still charming mother later took her to meet the man she was most proud of. With a shy smile, her mother softly called him Baby. A tall, muscular man with dark skin and sharp features emerged from the water. Lily stared at him for several minutes before snapping back to reality. The man greeted her politely. He even gave her an expensive bracelet as a gift. The meeting left Lily confused. She could not understand why such a